The text message came at 2:47 a.m. Your daughter's teacher called, she knows. Kang Min-ho stared at his phone, whiskey glass frozen halfway to his lips. In his world, when someone knew too much, they disappeared. But this woman, this Isabella Kingsley with her soft curves and defiant eyes, had looked at his blood-stained knuckles during parent-teacher conferences and asked if he needed ice. Not for his bruised hand, for his soul. He'd wanted to devour her whole. Welcome to K Fairytales Stories Besties. Please like, share, and subscribe. Min-ho had built his empire on 3 principles. Never apologize, never explain, and never let anyone see you bleed. The Seoul underworld whispered his name with the same reverence reserved for typhoons and other forces of nature. At 34, he controlled half the city's underground operations, laundered money through legitimate businesses that could survive any audit, and had enough blood on his hands to fill the Han River twice over. None of it had prepared him for Isabella Kingsley. She'd walked into Soo-jin's parent-teacher conference 6 weeks ago wearing a yellow dress that hugged every dangerous curve, her dark skin glowing against the fabric like expensive silk. When she smiled, something in his chest had cracked open. He'd spent 2 decades perfecting his mask of ice and control. She'd shattered it in 11 seconds. Mr. Kang, your daughter is exceptionally bright, Isabella had said, her voice carrying a slight British accent that made his name sound like a promise. But she's struggling emotionally. The other children say she doesn't talk about her mother. Because Soo-jin's mother had overdosed 3 years ago, and Min-ho had been too busy consolidating power to notice his wife spiraling. Because he'd married for alliance, not love, and his daughter had paid the price. Because he was a monster who knew how to kill but not how to comfort a grieving child. He'd said none of that. Instead, he'd leaned forward, close enough to catch her scent, vanilla and something warmer, richer, and watched her breath hitch. What do you suggest, Miss Kingsley? She should have been afraid. Everyone was afraid of him. But she'd held his gaze, those dark eyes seeing straight through his expensive suit to the violence underneath, and said, I suggest you actually talk to her. She's 7, not one of your business associates. The comment should have earned her a warning. Instead, he'd found himself returning to the school every week, inventing reasons to see her. Soo-jin's progress reports, curriculum questions, volunteer opportunities he had no intention of fulfilling. Each visit, Isabella treated him with professional courtesy laced with something sharper. Challenge, disapproval, interest she was fighting to suppress. He was obsessed. Now, at 2:47 a.m., someone had told her the truth about what he really was. And Min-ho had no idea who, which meant he had no idea how much danger she was actually in. He drained his whiskey and grabbed his keys. His penthouse overlooked the glittering sprawl of Gangnam, 60 floors of glass and steel that announced his dominance over the city. But tonight, he barely saw it. His mind was calculating, analyzing, preparing for damage control. The drive to Itaewon took 14 minutes. Isabella lived in a modest apartment building that his security team had already mapped down to the emergency exits. He knew she lived alone. Knew she'd moved to Seoul 8 months ago from London. Knew she took the same route to school every morning, stopping at the same coffee shop for an Americano she drank too hot, too fast. He knew everything about her, except how to make her look at him without that careful distance in her eyes. Her building was dark except for one window on the 3rd floor. Of course she was awake. The message had come from someone who wanted to destroy him, and they'd chosen the perfect weapon. Not violence, not blackmail, just the truth, delivered to the one person whose opinion had started to matter. Min-ho took the stairs 2 at a time, his footsteps echoing in the concrete stairwell. When he reached her door, he paused, forced himself to breathe, to think. Breaking down her door at 3 a.m. would only prove he was the monster she'd been told about. He knocked, 3 times measured and controlled. Silence, then soft footsteps. Who is it? Her voice was steady, but he heard the tension underneath. It's Min-ho. He never used his first name. Everyone called him Mr. Kang or Sir or Boss or that bastard, depending on their current relationship. But with her, he wanted to be Min-ho. Just a man, just someone who made her pulse race the way she made his. The door opened 6 inches, still chained. Isabella stood in the gap wearing an oversized t-shirt that fell to mid-thigh, her natural hair pulled into a messy bun, no makeup, completely devastating. Her eyes were red-rimmed but dry. She'd been crying, but she'd stopped. Somehow that was worse. "It's 3 in the morning," she said. "I know. You shouldn't be here." "I know that too." He kept his hands visible, non-threatening. Everything in him wanted to force his way inside, to cage her against the wall and make her listen, but he'd learned control in a hard school. "Please, 5 minutes." She studied him with those eyes that saw too much, and he wondered what she was finding. The tailored suit that cost more than she made in a month, the Rolex that could buy her building, the carefully styled hair and the face that tabloids called devastatingly handsome when they weren't calling him suspected crime lord. Or maybe she saw the truth, the violence that lived under his skin like a second heartbeat, the blood that never quite washed off. The man who'd killed his first person at 19 and hadn't stopped counting until the numbers became meaningless. 2 minutes, she said finally, sliding the chain free. He stepped inside, and her apartment swallowed him whole. It was nothing like his penthouse. Books everywhere, stacked on shelves and piled on the coffee table and scattered across the kitchen counter. Bright pillows on a worn couch. Photographs of places he didn't recognize, London, Lagos, somewhere tropical with turquoise water. Plants thriving in corners, green and alive and utterly foreign to his world of glass and steel. This was a home. His penthouse was a fortress. "Who told you?" he asked. Isabella moved to the kitchen, putting the counter between them. "Smart. Does it matter?" "Yes." His voice came out harder than intended. "Because whoever it was wants to hurt me, and they're willing to use you to do it." "Use me?" She laughed, but there was no humor in it. "I'm Sujin's teacher. I have a right to know if her father is." She stopped, swallowed. "What are you exactly?" The message wasn't specific. Just that Kang Min-ho isn't who he pretends to be, that you're dangerous, that I should stay away from you. "And will you?" The question escaped before he could stop it, raw and unguarded. Her eyes widened. For a moment, neither of them breathed. The air between them felt charged, dangerous, like the split second before lightning strikes. "I don't know," she whispered. "I don't even know what I'm staying away from, or why you care what I do." He should lie, deflect, leave and let his lawyers handle this with NDAs and carefully worded threats. Instead, he found himself rounding the counter, watching her tense but not retreat. Close enough now to see the pulse hammering at the base of her throat. Close enough to catch that vanilla scent that had haunted him for 6 weeks. "I'm exactly what you're afraid I am," he said quietly. "I run an organization that operates outside the law. I've hurt people, killed people. I've done things that would make you sick if you knew the details." Her face went pale, but he continued, brutal in his honesty. "I'm not a good man, Isabella. I've never pretended to be." "Then why are you here?" Her voice trembled. "Why tell me this?" "Because the alternative is you hearing it from someone who wants to terrify you." He lifted his hand slowly, giving her time to pull away, and brushed his thumb across her cheekbone. She shivered but didn't move. "Because you looked at my bruised knuckles and offered me ice. Because you defend my daughter like she's your own. Because when you smile at me, I forget what I am for exactly 3 seconds, and I've become addicted to those seconds." Isabella closed her eyes. "This is insane." "Yes. I should tell you to leave." "You should." His thumb traced to the corner of her mouth. "You should call the police, file a report, request a different teacher for Sujin, forget you ever met me." "And will you let me?" She opened her eyes, and the challenge in them made heat coil low in his spine. "If I tell you to disappear, will you actually go?" The honest answer would terrify her. The honest answer was that he'd already decided she was his, and nothing short of her genuine happiness with someone else would make him walk away. That he'd burn down anyone who tried to take her from him. That the possessiveness he felt was dark and consuming and probably unhealthy, but he was too far gone to care. Instead, he stepped back, giving her space, giving her the illusion of choice even though they both knew the truth. "If you tell me to go," he said carefully, "I'll respect your boundaries. I won't show up at school anymore. Won't call. Won't." He stopped, jaw clenching. "I'll stay away." She studied him, and he had the uncomfortable sensation of being dissected, analyzed, weighed and measured by a woman who taught 7-year-olds, but had the eyes of someone who'd seen her own share of darkness. "What happened to your knuckles tonight?" she asked suddenly. He glanced down at his hands. The bruising was fresh, purple-black across 3 knuckles. He'd been at a warehouse in Incheon when the call came about Isabella. One of his distributors had been skimming profits. Minho had handled it personally, the way he always did when someone betrayed him. "Business," he said. "Did you kill someone?" The question was so direct, so unflinching, that he nearly smiled. "No, but I hurt him badly enough that he'll think twice about stealing from me again." "You're a monster." She said it without heat, like she was stating a fact. "The sky is blue, water is wet. Kang Minho is a monster." "Yes. And you're in my apartment at 3 a.m. because someone told me the truth about you." "Yes. Because you're worried I'll what? Report you? Expose you?" She tilted her head. "You have enough money and power to make me disappear if I became a real threat, so why are you really here?" God, she was magnificent, terrified but refusing to show it, smart enough to understand the danger but brave enough to confront it anyway. He wanted to kiss her until neither of them could breathe, wanted to cage her against the wall and show her exactly how much control he was exercising right now. "I'm here," he said, voice dropping to something rough and honest, "because the thought of you being afraid of me makes me want to destroy whoever sent that message. Because I've spent 6 weeks trying to be normal around you, and it's killing me. Because when you smile at Sujin, I imagine you smiling at me like that, and it's the only thing that makes me feel remotely human." Isabella's breath caught. "That's not fair." "Nothing about this is fair." He moved closer again, helpless against the gravity she created. "You should run from me. You should be smart and self-protective and put as much distance between us as possible." "Then go," her voice cracked. "Leave me alone. Stop coming to the school. Stop looking at me like—" She broke off, wrapping her arms around herself. "Like what?" "Like you're starving, and I'm the only thing that can satisfy you." His jaw clenched. She'd named it perfectly, that hunger that consumed him whenever she was near. "Would you believe me if I told you I'd try?" "No," she met his eyes. "Because I've been teaching long enough to recognize obsession. And whatever this is, Minho, it's not healthy, for either of us." "Probably not." He reached for her again, couldn't help himself, fingers grazing her jaw. "But I've never been interested in healthy, only in things that feel necessary." She pulled away. "You need to leave." "Isabella." "Now," her voice hardened. "Before I do something stupid like believe you're anything other than what you just admitted to being." The rejection stung more than it should have. He'd known this was coming, had prepared for it, but hearing her dismiss him still felt like a knife between the ribs. "All right." He headed for the door, then paused with his hand on the knob. "The person who sent you that message, they're not done. Whatever this is, it's bigger than just exposing me, so I'm going to find out who they are and what they want." "And then what?" "Then I'm going to make sure they understand that you're off limits. I'm not yours to protect." He turned back, let her see the truth in his expression, the possessiveness he couldn't quite hide. "Tell yourself that if it helps, but we both know you're lying." He left before she could respond, taking the stairs faster than was wise, trying to outrun the look on her face. Anger, fear, and underneath it all, want. She felt this pull between them just as strongly as he did. The difference was she had the strength to fight it. He didn't. The drive back to Gangnam should have calmed him. Instead, his mind raced. Who had sent the message? His rivals in Busan were making moves, testing boundaries. The prosecutor's office had been circling his operations. Or it could be internal, someone in his own organization with ambitions. Whoever it was had made a critical mistake. They'd brought Isabella into this, made her a target. And now Minho had no choice but to pull her deeper into his world to keep her safe. His phone rang. Park Jinwoo, his second-in-command. "We have a problem," Jinwoo said without preamble. "I just got word from our contact in the police. They received an anonymous tip tonight about illegal firearms in one of our warehouses." Minho's grip tightened on the wheel. "Which one?" "Incheon, the same one you were at earlier." The timing was too perfect. Someone had known he'd be there, known he'd leave evidence, known exactly how to start building a case. Clean it. "Already in progress. But boss, this feels coordinated. The message to the teacher, the tip to police. Someone's coming after you from multiple angles. Then we find out who and we end this." He pulled into his building's underground garage. I want a full security audit. Everyone in the organization vetted again. Phone records, financial transactions. Someone's leaking information, and I want to know who. What about the teacher? Minho stepped into his private elevator, watched the numbers climb toward his penthouse. What about her? Do we need to handle the situation? The implication was clear. Make her disappear. Silence the potential threat. It was standard procedure, the kind of decision Minho made weekly without hesitation. No, the word came out sharp, final. She's not to be touched, is that clear? A pause. Yes, boss. I want protection on her. Subtle. She can't know. And I want to know everyone she talks to, everywhere she goes. If someone approaches her again, I want to know immediately. Understood. Minho ended the call and stepped into his penthouse. 60 floors above the city, surrounded by glass and steel and the trappings of power, he'd never felt more exposed. Because Isabella Kingsley had become a weakness, and in his world, weaknesses were exploited. He poured another drink, stood at the window watching Soul wake up. Somewhere out there, someone was orchestrating this attack, using Isabella as leverage, banking on Minho's attraction to her to destabilize him. They weren't wrong. He was destabilized. Had been since the moment she'd smiled at him and asked if he needed ice for his bruised knuckles. Since she'd looked at him like he was a man instead of a monster, even for just a second. His phone buzzed with a message from his head of security. Surveillance footage showed 4 men watching Isabella's building between midnight and 3 a.m. Professionals, judging by how they avoided cameras. They'd left 30 minutes after Minho arrived. So they'd been waiting for him to show up, documenting his connection to her, building evidence or leverage or both. Another message came through, this one from an unknown number. She's prettier than your wife was. Be a shame if something happened to her. Rage exploded through him, white-hot and consuming. He hurled his glass across the room, watched it shatter against the wall. Someone was threatening Isabella, directly, explicitly. That changed everything. He made 3 calls. The first to Jinwoo. Triple the protection on Isabella Kingsley. I want a team on her 24/7, armed, authorized to eliminate threats. The second to his head of intelligence. I want to know who sent this message, trace it, track it, I don't care what it takes. The third to his oldest contact in the Seoul underworld, a man who owed him more favors than either of them could count. Someone's making a move on me. I need to know who. Reach out to your network. Find out who's been asking questions about me, about my family, about anyone I care about. By dawn, he'd mobilized his entire organization. Resources that normally went toward expanding territory or laundering money were redirected to one goal: find the threat and eliminate it. And if that meant revealing to Isabella just how deep his obsession ran, just how far he'd go to protect her, then so be it. She already thought he was a monster. Might as well prove her right. His phone rang again. The school. He answered, already knowing what they'd say. Mr. Kang, this is Principal H. Wang. I'm afraid there's been an incident. Someone broke into Miss Kingsley's classroom last night, vandalized her desk, left a message. His blood ran cold. What did it say? A pause. It's disturbing. Perhaps you should come see for yourself. I'm on my way. He was already moving toward the door. Is Isabella there? She arrived 20 minutes ago. She's quite shaken. Of course she was there, despite the message, despite knowing what he was, despite every rational reason to stay away. She'd shown up for her students, for Soo-jin. For him, whether she'd admit it or not. Minho made it to the school in 12 minutes, breaking at least 6 traffic laws. He found Isabella in her classroom, standing in front of her desk with her arms wrapped around herself, staring at words spray-painted across the whiteboard in red. MONSDRS don't get happy endings. She turned when he entered, and the look on her face nearly brought him to his knees. Scared, angry, but underneath it all, relief that he was there. I called the principal, she said, voice steady despite the fear in her eyes. Not you, how did you? He called me. Minho crossed the room, unable to stop himself from reaching for her. His hands found her shoulders, felt her trembling. Are you hurt? No, she gestured at the board helplessly. This is about you, isn't it? About us. Someone's watching us. Yes. No point in lying now. Someone's been watching for a while. The message you got last night was just the beginning. The beginning of what? A war. He pulled her closer, breathed in her scent, let it ground him. Someone wants to destroy me, and they've decided you're the way to do it. She pulled back, searched his face. Why me? I'm nobody. I'm just a teacher. We barely know each other. Because they've been watching me long enough to notice how I look at you. He cupped her face, thumbs stroking her cheekbones. Because in 6 weeks, you've become the only thing I want more than power, and that makes you the perfect target. This is insane. But she didn't pull away. You need to leave. Tell them there's nothing between us. Make them lose interest. It's too late for that. He showed her his phone, the threatening message about her, watched her face go pale. They've already committed, already made you part of this. The only way to keep you safe now is to... Is to what? Her voice rose. Pull me deeper into your world. Make me a real target instead of just a potential one. I won't do it, Minho. I won't let you use me as bait or leverage or whatever twisted plan you're formulating. I'm not using you. His voice went rough. I'm trying to protect you. By making me more visible, by confirming that I matter to you. She laughed, sharp and bitter. You're doing exactly what they want, proving I'm a weakness they can exploit. She was right. Tactically, strategically, she was absolutely right. The smart move was to cut all ties, let her fade into obscurity, make it clear she meant nothing. He couldn't do it. Then what do you suggest? He released her, stepped back. Because walking away won't make you safer. They've already identified you, already threatened you. Ignoring it won't make it stop. Isabella closed her eyes, and he could see her thinking, processing, trying to find a solution that didn't involve him or his world or the violence that followed him like a shadow. I could leave, she said finally. Request a transfer, move back to London, disappear from your life completely. The suggestion felt like a knife twisting in his chest. Is that what you want? It's what makes sense. That's not what I asked. He moved closer again, unable to maintain distance. Do you want to run from me, Isabella, from this? She opened her eyes and the conflict in them was clear. Want versus wisdom. Attraction versus self-preservation. It doesn't matter what I want. This, she gestured between them. This can't happen. You said it yourself. You're a monster. And I'm just a teacher who was stupid enough to think you might be something more. I am something more. The words came out desperate, unguarded. With you, I'm... What? Less of a killer? Less of a criminal? She shook her head. You don't get to be redeemed by me, Minho. I'm not your salvation. I'm just someone who got caught in your orbit and now I'm paying the price. The rejection hurt more than any physical wound. But before he could respond, his phone rang. Jinwoo. Boss, we have a situation. The man you interrogated last night in Incheon. Someone got to him. He's dead. Made to look like suicide, but our coroner says it was murder. Minho's jaw clenched. When? Sometime between 4 and 6 a.m. Whoever did it knew exactly where he was being held, which means... We have a leak. He glanced at Isabella, saw her watching him with wary eyes. I'm coming in. He ended the call, turned back to Isabella. I have to go, but this conversation isn't over. Yes, it is. Her voice was firm, final. I'm requesting a transfer, I'm leaving Seoul, and you're going to let me go. Isabella. Please, the word cracked. Please just let me go before something worse happens, before I get caught in whatever war you're fighting, before I... She stopped, swallowed. Before what? She met his eyes, and the truth in them stole his breath. Before I fall for you completely and lose myself in the process. The admission hung between them, fragile and devastating. She felt it too. This pull. This impossible, irrational, dangerous attraction. And she was smart enough to recognize it would destroy her. He should let her go. Should do the honorable thing and release her from this. Should prove he was capable of at least one selfless act. No, he said instead. Excuse me. I said no. He closed the distance between them, crowded her against the desk. You want to leave because you're afraid of me, of this, of what we could become. But I'm not letting you run, Isabella. Not when someone out there is threatening you. Not when walking away won't actually keep you safe. You don't get to decide that. Watch me. His voice dropped to something dark and possessive. You became mine the moment you offered me ice for my bruised knuckles. The moment you smiled at my daughter like she mattered. The moment you looked at me and saw a man instead of a monster, even for just a second. And I protect what's mine. I'm not yours. Not yet. He leaned in, lips brushing her ear. But you will be, Isabella, because you're already halfway in love with me and you know it. You feel this thing between us just as strongly as I do. The only difference is I'm honest enough to admit it. She shuddered and he knew he'd hit the truth. You're insane. Probably. He pulled back, met her eyes. But I'm also your best chance at surviving whatever's coming, so you can fight me, you can hate me, you can spend every day telling yourself this is wrong, but you're not leaving Seoul, you're not requesting a transfer, and you're not running from me. And if I do it anyway? His smile was cold, certain. Then I'll follow, I'll find you, and I'll prove to you that distance means nothing when I've already decided you're mine. Her breath came faster, pupils dilating. Fear and fury, and underneath it all, arousal. She was terrified of him and desperately attracted to him in equal measure, and he was bastard enough to use both. I hate you, she whispered. No, you don't. He brushed his thumb across her lower lip, felt her tremble. But you're going to. Before this is over, you're going to hate me for all the lines I'll cross to keep you safe, for all the choices I'll make without asking, for every way I'll prove I'm exactly the monster you think I am. Then why, her voice cracked, why do this, why not just let me go? Because losing you isn't an option. He said it simply, honestly. Because in 6 weeks, you've become necessary, and I've never been good at letting go of things I need. Before she could respond, the classroom door opened. Principal H. Wang, looking uncomfortable. Mr. Kang, the police are here. They'd like to speak with both of you about the vandalism. Perfect timing. Minho stepped back, smoothed his suit, slipped back into the mask of controlled civility. Of course. He turned back to Isabella one last time. This isn't over. We're not over. And whether you like it or not, you're under my protection now, so get used to it. Then he walked out, leaving her staring after him with eyes that held fear and fury, and something darker, deeper, that looked dangerously close to surrender. The war had begun, and Minho intended to win. The police detective was young, ambitious, and exactly the type Minho usually bought off within the first 5 minutes of conversation. But Detective Kim seemed immune to the usual signals, the expensive suit, the commanding presence, the subtle implications that cooperation would be rewarded. Instead, she looked at Minho like he was a particularly interesting specimen under a microscope. Mr. Kang, you're here quite early for someone who isn't family, Detective Kim said, notepad open. The incident was reported at 7:30. You arrived at 7:42. That's remarkably quick. Principal H. Wang called me, Minho said smoothly. My daughter is in Miss Kingsley's class. Naturally, I was concerned. Concerned enough to break several traffic laws getting here. So she'd already checked traffic cameras. Thorough. Is that a crime, detective? Depends on why you were speeding. She turned to Isabella, who stood with her arms wrapped around herself, looking anywhere but at Minho. Miss Kingsley, do you have any idea who might have done this? Isabella hesitated, and Minho could see her weighing options. Tell the truth and pull the police into something dangerous. Lie and protect him despite everything. Stay silent and let Minho handle it his way. No, she said finally. I can't imagine who would do something like this. The lie was visible in every tense line of her body, but Detective Kim didn't push. Yet. And the message on your phone last night, the anonymous one warning you about Mr. Kang. You reported that, yes. Minho's eyes narrowed. Isabella had reported it. That was either very smart or very stupid, depending on what Detective Kim did with the information. I did, Isabella said. I thought it was a prank, but now. Now you're wondering if it's connected to this. Detective Kim gestured at the spray-painted message. Monsters don't get happy endings. Interesting phrasing. Personal. Like someone knows you, Mr. Kang, knows what you are. The implication was clear. Detective Kim suspected him, not of the vandalism, but of being exactly what the message suggested. A monster. I run several businesses, Minho said, voice cool. Success breeds jealousy. Enemies, I'm sure you understand. Oh, I understand perfectly. Detective Kim's smile was sharp. I've been investigating your businesses for 6 months, Mr. Kang. Funny how every time we get close to something concrete, witnesses disappear, evidence vanishes, files get corrupted. It's almost like someone's always one step ahead. So that was the game. The police weren't just responding to vandalism. They were using it as an excuse to get closer to him, to Isabella, to whatever connection they suspected existed. If you have questions about my businesses, detective, speak to my lawyers, Minho said. Otherwise, I believe we're done here. Actually, we're not. Detective Kim pulled out her phone, showed them a photograph. This was found in Miss Kingsley's desk drawer. Care to explain it? The photograph showed Minho and Isabella in the school parking lot 2 weeks ago. He'd walked her to her car after a late parent-teacher meeting, and they'd stood talking for maybe 5 minutes. But the angle of the photo, the way it was framed, made it look intimate. Damning. Someone's been watching you both for a while, Detective Kim said. Taking pictures, documenting your meetings. Why do you think that is? I have no idea, Minho lied. Really, because from where I'm standing, it looks like someone's building a case. Maybe against you, maybe using Miss Kingsley as evidence of something. Or maybe, she paused, watching their reactions. Maybe someone's trying to warn her away from you, protect her from whatever you're involved in. Isabella's face had gone pale. I think I need to sit down. Minho moved instinctively, hand reaching for her elbow, but Detective Kim stepped between them. I'll handle it, Mr. Kang. Why don't you wait outside? It wasn't a request. Minho met Isabella's eyes, saw the fear and confusion there, and wanted to burn down the world. But making a scene in front of a detective who was already suspicious would only make things worse. I'll be right outside, he said, the words meant for Isabella alone. A promise, a threat. He wasn't going anywhere. The hallway was empty except for his security team, who'd stationed themselves at strategic points. Jinwoo appeared at his elbow, phone already out. The detective's clean, Jinwoo said quietly. Can't be bought. 3 commendations for integrity. Father was a prosecutor who went after organized crime in the 90s, got killed for it when she was 12. Perfect. A detective with a vendetta against people like Minho and the moral conviction to back it up. What else? The photograph was placed in Isabella's desk sometime between 6 p.m. yesterday and 7 a.m. this morning. Security cameras were disabled during that window. Professional job. Same people who vandalized the classroom. Likely and boss, Jinwoo hesitated. We found something else. The man who was killed in Incheon. Before he died, he made a phone call. Burner phone we didn't know about. We traced it. Where? Here, to the school. Someone inside this building was in contact with him. Minho's blood ran cold. A teacher. We don't know yet. Could be staff, administration, could even be a parent. But whoever it is has access to the school, to Isabella's classroom, to information about her schedule. So the enemy wasn't just watching from outside. They were inside, close, with intimate knowledge of Isabella's daily life, which meant every interaction she had, every person she trusted, could be a threat. Find them, Minho said. I don't care what it takes. Find out who's working against us from inside the school. What about the detective? Let her investigate. She won't find anything concrete. He glanced back at the classroom door. But she might scare Isabella enough to accept my protection. So in a way, Detective Kim is doing me a favor. Jinwoo's expression said he thought Minho was playing a dangerous game, but he nodded and disappeared to coordinate the search. 20 minutes later, Detective Kim emerged from the classroom, alone. Where's Isabella? Minho demanded. Miss Kingsley requested a moment to compose herself, Detective Kim said. She's had quite a shock. Multiple shocks, actually. Learning that someone's been photographing her, watching her, following her movements, it's terrifying for a civilian. The emphasis on civilian was deliberate. A reminder that Isabella was innocent, untouched by his world, and Minho was the contamination. I'd like to see her, Minho said. I'm sure you would, but right now Miss Kingsley needs space from all of this. Detective Kim moved closer, voice dropping. I don't know what your relationship is with her, Mr. Kang. Maybe it's innocent. Maybe you're just a concerned parent, but someone out there thinks differently. Someone believes she matters to you enough to use her as leverage. so I'm going to give you some advice free of charge. I didn't ask for your advice. Stay away from her. Whatever business you're involved in, whatever enemies you've made, keep her out of it. Because if something happens to that woman, if she gets hurt because of you, I will make it my personal mission to destroy everything you've built. Evidence or no evidence, I will find a way to bring you down. The threat was delivered calmly, professionally, but Min-ho heard the steel underneath. Detective Kim meant every word. Noted, he said. Are we done? For now. She handed him a card. If you remember anything that might help the investigation, call me, day or night. He took the card, already planning to have his people investigate her thoroughly. Know your enemies. It was the first rule of survival. After Detective Kim left, Min-ho pushed into the classroom. Isabella stood at the window, staring out at the playground where children were starting to arrive. Her reflection in the glass showed exhaustion, fear, and something that looked like resignation. She told you to stay away from me, Isabella said without turning around. Yes. And will you? No. She turned then, eyes blazing. Why not? Everyone keeps saying the same thing, that you're dangerous, that I should run, that getting involved with you will destroy me. At what point do I start listening? When the danger actually goes away, Min-ho said. Which it won't. Not if I disappear. Not if you transfer schools. Not if you move to another country. Someone's already decided you matter to me, Isabella. Walking away now won't change that. Then what will? Her voice cracked. What do I have to do to make this stop? Let me protect you. By pulling me deeper into your world. By making me a target. You're already a target. He crossed the room, needed her closer even though he knew he shouldn't touch her. The only question is whether you face this alone, or with someone who has the resources to keep you safe. Someone who terrifies me. Good, you should be terrified of me. He caught her chin, tilted her face up. But you should be more terrified of whoever's out there, watching you, threatening you, willing to burn down your life to get to me. Because I might be a monster, Isabella, but at least I'm a monster who wants to keep you alive. She pulled away, putting distance between them. I can't do this. I can't be with someone who what? Kills people, breaks laws, operates outside morality. He laughed, harsh and bitter. You knew what I was the moment I walked into your classroom with blood on my knuckles. You've known all along. The only difference is now you can't pretend otherwise. That's not fair. None of this is fair. He stalked toward her, watched her retreat until her back hit the wall. You want fair? Fair is you being a normal teacher with a normal life, dating normal men who bring you flowers and take you to dinner and bore you to tears with their normalcy. But that's not what happened. You met me, and I saw you, and now we're both trapped in this, whether we like it or not. We're not trapped, we can still. Can we? He braced his hands on either side of her head, caging her in. Can you honestly tell me you feel nothing when I'm this close? That your heart isn't racing? That you're not thinking about what it would feel like if I kissed you right now? Her breathing hitched, pupils dilating. Min-ho. Say it. Tell me you feel nothing, and I'll walk away. I'll disappear from your life completely. Tell me I'm wrong about this thing between us. She opened her mouth, closed it. Her hands came up, pressed against his chest, but she didn't push him away. Just held him there, feeling his heartbeat thunder against her palms. I can't, she whispered finally. I can't tell you I feel nothing, but that doesn't mean this is right. It doesn't mean we should. He kissed her. It wasn't gentle, wasn't sweet or careful or any of the things a first kiss should be. It was desperate and consuming, and 6 weeks of wanting compressed into a single moment of contact. His mouth claimed hers with a hunger that bordered on violence, and she made a sound, surprise or surrender or both, before her hands fisted in his shirt, and she kissed him back with equal desperation. She tasted like coffee and something sweeter, and Min-ho wanted to devour her whole. Wanted to push her against the wall and show her exactly how much control he'd been exercising for 6 weeks. Wanted to strip away every barrier between them until she understood she was his, completely and irrevocably his. But they were in a classroom, where students would arrive in 20 minutes, where Detective Kim might return, where anyone could walk in and see them and confirm every suspicion about their relationship. He pulled back, breathing hard, forehead resting against hers. Tell me that meant nothing. Isabella's eyes were closed, lips swollen from his kiss, chest heaving. It meant everything, and that's the problem. Before he could respond, his phone rang. Jinwoo. He considered ignoring it, but his second-in-command never called unless it was critical. What? Boss, we have movement. 2 cars just pulled up to the school. 8 men, armed, they're coming in. Minho's blood turned to ice. Get your team to Isabella's classroom, now. He ended the call, grabbed Isabella's arm. We need to go. What? Why? No time. He pulled her toward the door just as the first gunshot echoed through the hallway. Students screamed, teachers shouted, and Minho's worst nightmare crystallized into reality. His enemies had brought the war to Isabella's doorstep, exactly where she was most vulnerable. He shoved her behind him, pulled the gun he always carried from his shoulder holster. Isabella gasped, stumbling back. You brought a gun to a school. Be grateful I did. He moved to the door, checked the hallway. His security team was already engaging, 3 of them laying down cover fire while the others evacuated students and teachers. But the attackers were professional, coordinated, and they were moving with clear purpose toward one location. Isabella's classroom. They're here for you, he said, turning back to her. To take you, use you as leverage, which means we can't stay here. The children are being evacuated. My team will make sure they're safe. He grabbed her hand, pulled her toward the window. But right now, you're the target, and if they get you, everyone in this school becomes expendable. The window opened onto a small courtyard, 2 stories up. Not ideal, but better than trying to fight through a hallway full of armed men. We're jumping. Isabella's voice climbed an octave. We're jumping. He was already calculating the fall, the landing, how to shield her body with his. Trust me. I don't. Another gunshot, closer this time. The classroom door splintered, and Minho didn't give her time to argue. He grabbed her, pulled her against his chest, and jumped. The fall lasted less than 2 seconds, but time stretched. Minho twisted midair, taking the impact on his back. Isabella cushioned against his chest. They hit hard, his shoulder taking most of the damage, and pain exploded through him. But he'd felt worse, had survived worse. He rolled, came up with Isabella in his arms and his gun in his hand. The courtyard was empty, but that wouldn't last. He could hear shouting, more gunfire, the chaos of his security team fighting to contain the threat. Can you run? He asked Isabella. She nodded, face pale but determined. Yes. Then run, stay low, follow me, and whatever happens, don't stop. They ran. Minho led her through the courtyard, around the building, toward where his car waited with T-Sung at the wheel. Behind them, the sound of combat intensified. His team was holding, but for how long? They were 50 feet from the car when a man stepped out from behind a tree. Young, professional, gun already raised. Minho didn't hesitate. He fired twice, center mass, and the man dropped. Isabella screamed, but he was already moving, pulling her forward. No time to process. No time to fall apart. Only survival mattered. 20 feet from the car, another attacker. Minho took him down with a single shot. 10 feet. The car door was opening, T-Sung providing cover fire. 5 feet, almost there. An explosion ripped through the air, and Minho's car erupted in flames. The blast waved through them both backward, and he twisted again, shielding Isabella from the worst of it. They hit the ground hard, his ears ringing, smoke and heat washing over them. T-Sung, his driver, his friend for 15 years, was dead, incinerated in the explosion. And they were trapped, nowhere to run, enemies closing in. Minho pulled Isabella to her feet, already calculating odds. 6 rounds left in his gun. At least 4 attackers still active. No vehicle, no backup close enough to help. Impossible odds, but he'd survived impossible before. Stay behind me, he ordered Isabella, positioning himself between her and the approaching threat. She was crying, shaking, probably in shock, but she stayed on her feet, stayed with him. And something about her trust, even now, even after everything, made him more dangerous than he'd ever been. Because he had something to lose, something worth killing for, worth dying for. The first attacker rounded the burning wreckage. Minho shot him, then the second, then the third. Each shot precise, economical because he couldn't afford to waste ammunition. The fourth attacker was smarter, used the smoke as cover. Minho couldn't see him, could only track by sound, and that wasn't enough. A shot rang out. Pain exploded in Minho's side and he stumbled. Felt blood, hot and wet, spreading across his shirt. Isabella screamed his name, but he was already firing blind into the smoke, praying for a hit. A body dropped, 4 down, but how many more? His vision was blurring, blood loss or shock or both. He had maybe minutes before he collapsed, had to get Isabella to safety before that happened. Minho, you're bleeding. I know. He grabbed her hand, pulled her away from the burning car, toward the school fence, toward anything that offered cover. Keep moving. They made it 10 feet before he heard it, the distinctive click of a gun being cocked, behind them. Minho turned, raised his own weapon, but he was too slow. The blood loss was affecting his reflexes. The shot was already coming. Then Jinwoo was there, appearing like a ghost from the smoke, his gun barking twice. The attacker dropped. Boss, Jinwoo caught Minho as he started to fall. I've got you. Isabella, Minho gasped. Get her out of here. Both of you, car's 2 blocks away. Jinwoo was already moving. Half carrying Minho, motioning for Isabella to follow. They ran through smoke and chaos, leaving behind a school that would never be the same. Leaving behind Taesung's body. Leaving behind any pretense that this war could be contained or controlled. The car was exactly where Jinwoo said, with 2 more of Minho's men providing security. They piled in, Jinwoo shouting orders, and the car peeled away from the curb. Minho slumped in the backseat, consciousness wavering. He felt Isabella's hands on him, pressing against his wound, her voice frantic. He needs a hospital. No hospitals, he managed, too exposed. He'll die. We have a doctor, Jinwoo said from the front seat. Private, discreet, 10 minutes away. He might not have 10 minutes. But Minho was already fatting, the pain receding into something distant. He caught Isabella's hand, squeezed weakly. Sorry, he whispered, meant to keep you safe. You're not allowed to die, she said fiercely, tears streaming down her face. You don't get to kiss me like that and then die, you bastard. He smiled despite the pain. Knew you felt it too. Then darkness took him. Minho woke to white walls and the smell of antiseptic. For a moment, he thought he was in a hospital, that Jinwoo had ignored orders. Then he recognized the room. One of his safe houses, equipped with medical facilities for exactly this kind of situation. How many times had he been here? 12? 15? Enough that the doctor, an older man who'd patched up more criminals than he'd ever admit, greeted him with weary familiarity. You're awake, good. You lost a lot of blood, but the bullet went through clean. Missed everything vital. You'll be sore for a few weeks, but you'll live. Minho tried to sit up, gasped at the pain. Isabella. The woman who came in with you? She's fine. Shaken but unharmed. She refused to leave while I worked on you. Insisted on staying despite my colleague trying to sedate her for shock. So she was safe. Minho let that knowledge settle, let the knot of fear in his chest loosen fractionally. Where is she now? Next room, asleep finally. She was exhausted. Minho forced himself upright, ignoring the doctor's protests. Every movement sent fire through his side, but he'd lived with worse. He needed to see her, needed to confirm with his own eyes that she was whole and safe and still breathing. The next room was smaller, darker. Isabella lay curled on a couch, still wearing her blood-stained clothes, his blood, her face peaceful in sleep. Someone had put a blanket over her, and she clutched it like a child. She looked impossibly young, impossibly vulnerable, and utterly out of place in his world of violence and death. Jinwoo appeared at his elbow. The school attack was coordinated with a car bomb. They wanted her, boss, specifically her. The rest was just distraction. How many did we lose? Taesung, 2 security personnel, 3 civilians caught in crossfire. Jinwoo's voice was flat, professional, but Minho heard the grief underneath. Taesung had been with them since the beginning. 6 students injured, none critically. Teachers are traumatized but alive. And the attackers. All dead, you got 4, I got 2, our team got the rest. Jinwoo paused. We took 1 alive, barely, he's being questioned now. By questioned, you mean? Whatever it takes to make him talk. Yes. Minho nodded. This was his world. Brutal, efficient, morally bankrupt. And Isabella was sleeping 20 feet away, covered in evidence of it. She asked about you, Jinwoo said quietly. While the doctor was working, wanted to know if you'd survive. When I said yes, she cried. Then she demanded we tell her everything. Who we are, what we do, why someone would attack a school to get to her. And what did you tell her? The truth. Jinwoo met his eyes. That you run one of the largest criminal organizations in Seoul. That you've killed more people than either of us can count. That you're wanted by 3 different international agencies and half the local police force. That loving you will probably destroy her. You had no right. She had a right to know. Jinwoo's voice hardened. You dragged her into this, boss. You made her a target because you couldn't control yourself around her. The least she deserves is honesty. He was right. Minho knew he was right, but hearing it still felt like a knife between the ribs. How did she react? She called you a monster, said she hated you, then she demanded to stay until she knew you'd survive. Jinwoo shook his head. She's in love with you, and she's terrified of what that means. I never asked her to love me. No, you just made it inevitable. Jinwoo pulled out his phone, showed Minho's surveillance footage. The man we captured, he talked, gave up his employer in less than an hour. You're not going to like it. Minho took the phone, watched the interrogation, watched the broken man confess through bloody lips, watched as he named the person behind everything. Prosecutor Yoon Yi-sung. The man who'd been investigating Minho's operations for 5 years. The man who'd sworn to bring him down. The man who'd apparently decided that legal methods weren't working fast enough and had gone outside the law to destroy Minho by any means necessary, including using Isabella as bait. Where is he now? Minho asked, voice deadly calm. We're watching him, waiting for your orders. Minho looked at Isabella, sleeping peacefully despite everything, despite the violence, despite knowing the truth, despite having every reason to run and never look back. She'd stayed. And that meant he had a choice to make. He could go after Prosecutor Yoon, end this threat permanently, and confirm every terrible thing Isabella now knew about him. Or he could show restraint, find another way, prove he was capable of being something other than the monster everyone said he was. The smart choice was obvious. Eliminate the threat, protect what was his, survive at any cost. But the smart choice would also prove he was exactly what Isabella feared. A man incapable of change. A monster who solved every problem with violence. Boss, Jinwoo prompted. Orders. Minho was saved from answering by movement. Isabella stirred, eyes opening. For a moment, she looked disoriented. Then memory crashed back, visible in how her entire body tensed. You're awake, she said, voice rough from sleep and crying. So are you. She sat up slowly, the blanket falling away. Her eyes found his side, the bandages visible through his torn shirt, and something in her expression cracked. You got shot protecting me. Yes. People died because of me. No, he moved closer despite Jinwoo's warning look. People died because a prosecutor decided to wage war using illegal means. This isn't your fault, Isabella. Your friend told me everything. Her voice was steady, but her hands shook. What you are, what you do, how many laws you've broken, how many people you've hurt. She met his eyes. He told me I should run, that staying with you will get me killed. He's probably right. And yet you won't let me go. No. Why? The question was raw, desperate. Why me, Minho? I'm nobody special, just a teacher. There are hundreds of women who'd. I don't want hundreds of women. He was close enough now to touch her, but he kept his hands to himself. Barely. I want you, only you. And I know it's selfish and wrong and probably going to destroy us both, but I can't make myself care. Not when I almost lost you today. Not when I watched men with guns coming for you and knew I'd kill every single one of them to keep you safe. Tears spilled down her cheeks. You're a monster. I know. You've killed people. Yes. You'll kill again. Probably. If it means protecting you, definitely. She closed her eyes and he could see her fighting. Wanting to run. Wanting to stay. Torn between what was smart and what she felt. Your friend said something else, she whispered. He said you've never cared about anyone the way you care about me, that in 15 years he's never seen you lose control, never seen you risk everything for another person. He said I have power over you, real power, the kind that could get you killed. Jinwoo talks too much. Is it true? Minho reached out, cupped her face, thumbs wiping away her tears. Yes, it's true. You have more power over me than anyone ever has, and it terrifies me, because caring about you makes me vulnerable in ways I've spent my entire life avoiding. Then let me go, for both our sakes. I can't. The admission cost him, but she deserved honesty. I've tried. Every rational part of me knows I should walk away, let you live your life, find someone normal and safe and good. But I'm too selfish, Isabella, too obsessed, too far gone to do the right thing. She opened her eyes, searched his face. What happens now? Now you make a choice. He forced himself to step back, to give her space. You can leave. I'll arrange protection, make sure Prosecutor Yoon can't touch you, and you'll never see me again. Or you stay. You accept what I am and what that means. You let me protect you my way, which won't be gentle or legal or anything your conscience will approve of. You become mine completely, knowing that I'm a monster who will never be redeemed, that I'll stain you with everything I touch. Those aren't real choices. They're the only ones I can offer. Isabella stood, wrapped the blanket around herself like armor. She walked to the window, stared out at the Seoul skyline. Minho watched her, memorizing every detail, the curve of her spine, the way her hair fell across her shoulders, the rise and fall of her breathing. If she chose to leave, this might be the last time he saw her. And the thought of that, of her walking out of his life forever, was more terrifying than any bullet. If I stay, she said finally, not turning around, I need conditions. Hope and hunger surged through him. What conditions? Your daughter, Soojin. She can't know about any of this. Whatever you do, whoever you hurt, she remains innocent, protected, safe from your world. Agreed. And I won't lie for you. If the police question me, if Detective Kim comes back, I'll tell them the truth. I won't perjure myself to protect you. That was harder, but he nodded. Understood. Last condition. She turned, met his eyes. If I tell you to stop, if I say you're going too far, that you're becoming something I can't live with, you listen. You find another way. You prove to me that you're capable of being more than just a monster. That was the impossible one, because he already knew there were lines he'd cross to keep her safe. Already knew he'd do terrible things if it meant she survived. But he lied anyway. I'll try. She studied him, and he wondered what she saw, whether she recognized the lie, whether she cared. Then I'll stay, she whispered. God help me, I'll stay. The relief was staggering. Minho crossed the room, pulled her into his arms, buried his face in her hair. She was trembling, or maybe he was, or maybe they both were, holding each other like the world was ending and they were the only two people left. I'm going to destroy you, he said against her temple. You know that, right? I know, her arms tightened around him, but maybe I'll destroy you first. He laughed despite everything. Maybe you will. They stood like that, wrapped in each other, while outside Jinwoo made arrangements and the captured attacker was interrogated and Prosecutor Yoon continued his war, unaware that he'd just made a fatal mistake. Because Isabella had chosen Minho, had accepted what he was, and that meant Minho no longer had to hold back, no longer had to show restraint, no longer had to prove he was anything other than exactly what he'd always been. A monster, her monster, and heaven help anyone who tried to take her from him now. Isabella woke to the sound of Minho, giving orders in rapid Korean, his voice cold and precise in a way that made her stomach twist. She'd fallen asleep against his chest sometime after midnight, exhausted from crying and fear, and the slow realization that she'd just committed herself to a man who solved problems with bullets. Now, in the gray light of early morning, reality was harder to ignore. She sat up carefully, and Minho's conversation cut off mid-sentence. He turned to her, and the transformation was immediate. The ice in his expression melted into something warmer, though no less intense. You should rest more, he said, switching to English. His side had to be killing him, but he moved like the gunshot wound was nothing more than an inconvenience. I've rested enough, She pulled the blanket tighter. What were you talking about? Business. Minho. He sighed, ran a hand through his hair. The gesture was so human, so normal, that it almost made her forget what he was. Prosecutor Yoon, we're discussing options. Options for what? Revenge, murder. Her voice came out sharper than intended. I heard the word for kill at least 3 times. His jaw tightened. You speak Korean. Enough to know when someone's planning violence. She'd studied the language before moving to Seoul, picked up more from teaching. She wasn't fluent, but she understood more than people realized. You promised me you'd try, that if I said you were going too far, you'd find another way. Prosecutor Yoon sent armed men into a school full of children to kidnap you. Minho's voice was flat, controlled, but she heard the fury underneath. He killed Taesung, killed 3 innocent civilians, injured 6 students, and he'll do it again if I don't stop him. So report him, get evidence, let the system. The system? Minho laughed, harsh and bitter. Isabella, he is the system. He's a prosecutor with friends in every level of government. He's untouchable through legal means, which means the only way to stop him is to become exactly what he says you are. She stood, faced him. A murderer, a criminal, someone who solves every problem with violence. I already am those things. Then be something else. The words burst out of her, desperate and raw. Be better for Soo-jin, for... She stopped, swallowed. For me. The silence stretched between them, heavy with everything unsaid. Minho stared at her like she'd asked him to cut out his own heart. You don't know what you're asking, he said finally. I'm asking you to find another way. You're smart, powerful, you have resources. There has to be an option between doing nothing and committing murder. And if there isn't? She met his eyes. Then I can't stay. I meant what I said, Minho. I won't watch you become a monster and pretend it's acceptable because you're protecting me. I won't be your excuse for more violence. His phone rang before he could respond. He glanced at it, jaw clenching. I need to take this. She watched him walk away, heard the low murmur of conversation in Korean. Watched the tension in his shoulders, the way his free hand clenched into a fist. Whatever he was hearing, it wasn't good. When he returned, his expression was carefully blank. That was Jinwoo. Prosecutor Yoon just held a press conference. He's claiming the school attack was gang violence, that I'm responsible, that he has evidence connecting me to the assault. What? He's the one who sent those men. Yes, but he's also the one with credibility, with a badge and a public platform and no criminal record. Minho's smile was cold. He's framing me for his own crime, and unless I can prove otherwise, it's going to work. Isabella's mind raced. The man you captured, the one who confessed, can't he? A coerced confession from a criminal against a respected prosecutor. Minho shook his head. It would never hold up in court. Yoon knows that. It's why he's not worried. Then what about the police? Detective Kim seemed suspicious of him too. Detective Kim suspects everyone, but suspicion isn't proof. And Yoon has spent 5 years building his case against me. He has files, evidence, witnesses, all circumstantial, all carefully constructed. This is his endgame, Isabella. He's using the school attack to finally arrest me. The implications settled over her like ice water. They're coming for you. Probably within hours. He moved to her, cupped her face. Which is why you need to leave, now, before you're implicated, before anyone connects you to me officially. I'm already connected to you. I was there, at the school. The police questioned me. As a victim, a witness, not as he stopped, seemed to struggle with a word. Not as someone who matters to me. If you leave now, you can claim fear, confusion, distance yourself from all of this. And you. I'll handle Prosecutor Yoon my way. By killing him. If necessary. She pulled away from his touch, wrapped her arms around herself. Then you'll prove him right. Prove that you're exactly what he says you are. A criminal, a murderer, someone who belongs in prison. I've belonged in prison for 15 years, Isabella. The only difference is whether I go willingly or in a body bag. His voice was calm, accepting, like he'd made peace with this outcome long ago. I've always known how this would end. Men like me don't get happy endings. Monsters don't get happy endings, she whispered, remembering the spray-painted message. Exactly. Something in her chest cracked, because he believed it, truly believed he was beyond redemption, beyond hope, beyond anything but violence and death. "What about Sujin?" she asked. "What happens to her when you're dead or in prison?" Pain flickered across his face. "I have arrangements. Jinwoo will take care of her. She'll have money, protection, everything she needs. Except her father. She's better off without me anyway. I've been a terrible parent, absent, cold, more interested in building power than raising my daughter." He turned away, stared out the window. Maybe this is for the best. Maybe she deserves better than a monster for a father. Isabella wanted to scream, wanted to shake him, wanted to make him see that he was wrong, that Sujin needed him, that he was capable of being more than what he believed himself to be. But before she could speak, the door burst open. Jinwoo breathing hard. "Boss, we have a problem. The police just issued a warrant for your arrest. They're mobilizing now. Every unit in Seoul is looking for you." Minho nodded like he'd expected this. "How long do we have?" "Maybe an hour before they trace you here. Less if Prosecutor Yoon has inside information on your safe houses." "He probably does." Minho turned to Isabella. "Jinwoo will take you somewhere safe, a different location, somewhere Yoon can't find you." "I'm not leaving you." "You don't have a choice." "Yes, I do. I chose to stay, remember? I chose this. You." She moved to him, grabbed his arm. "I'm not running now just because things got difficult." "Difficult?" He laughed, sharp and humorless. "Isabella, if you stay, you become an accomplice, an accessory. They could charge you with harboring a fugitive, obstruction of justice. You could lose your job, your visa, your freedom. Is that what you want?" "I want you to stop trying to protect me by pushing me away." "I'm trying to protect you by being smart." "Then be smart enough to find a way out of this that doesn't end with you dead or in prison." Her voice rose, desperate. "You keep saying you're a monster like it's inevitable, like you have no choice. But you do. You can choose to be better, to fight differently. To what? Turn myself in, confess to crimes and hope for leniency?" He shook his head. "I'd be dead within a week, prison assassination. Yoon would make sure of it. Then we get evidence, real evidence. We prove Yoon orchestrated the attack. There is no evidence," Jinwoo interrupted quietly. "We've been looking. Yoon covered his tracks. The men he hired are all dead. The money trail disappears into shell companies. The confession we have won't hold up. There's nothing concrete." Isabella refused to accept that. "What about witnesses? Someone must have seen something. The men at my building that night. The way the attack was coordinated. There has to be." She stopped, remembered something. "The photograph," she said. "The one Detective Kim showed us. The one of you and me in the parking lot. It was in my desk drawer." Minho frowned. "What about it?" "Someone put it there. Recently. Between when I left school the day before and when I arrived that morning. Which means whoever planted it had access to my classroom outside of school hours." "We already know that," Jinwoo said. "The same person who vandalized your room." "But what if there are cameras, security footage of them breaking in?" Isabella turned to Minho. "The school has cameras everywhere. If we can get the footage, if we can identify who planted that photograph, it would connect them to the harassment but not necessarily to Prosecutor Yoon," Minho said. But she saw something flicker in his eyes. Hope, maybe, or at least the possibility of hope. "Unless they were sloppy," Jinwoo said slowly. "Unless they left a trail, made contact with Yoon's office, used a phone that can be traced." He pulled out his tablet, fingers flying across the screen. "If we can identify the person who planted the photo, we can trace their communications, see if they talked to Yoon or anyone connected to him." "It's a long shot," Minho said. "It's better than nothing." Isabella grabbed his hand. "Please, just try, before you do something that can't be undone." He studied her for a long moment, and she held her breath, waiting, praying he'd choose differently, choose better, choose her vision of who he could be over his certainty of who he was. "All right," he said finally. "We try it your way first. But Isabella, if this doesn't work, if we can't find evidence, then I'm handling Prosecutor Yoon my way. Understood?" It wasn't the unconditional promise she wanted, but it was something, a compromise, a chance. "Understood," she said. Jinwoo was already on the phone, coordinating with their tech specialist. I'm sending someone to the school now. They'll hack the security system, pull footage from the last 72 hours. Detective Kim might have already requested it, Isabella said. Then we'll get it before she does. Jinwoo glanced at Minho. Boss, you should know, the media is going crazy. Your photo is everywhere. The school attack is headline news. Parents are terrified. The school board is demanding answers. What about Sujin? Minho's voice was tight. Safe. I have her at a secure location with round-the-clock protection. She thinks it's a special vacation. She doesn't know about the attack or the warrant or any of this. Relief flickered across Minho's face. Good, keep it that way. Isabella's heart ached watching him. For all his violence, all his crimes, his daughter was his one pure thing, his one chance at redemption. We should move, Jinwoo said. This location is compromised. I have another safe house ready, farther from the city, harder to track. They packed quickly, what little they had. Isabella was still wearing yesterday's blood-stained clothes. Someone, probably Jinwoo, had brought her a change of clothes, simple jeans and a sweater that fit well enough. As she changed in the bathroom, she caught her reflection in the mirror. She looked exhausted, traumatized, like someone who'd survived a war. Maybe she had. When she emerged, Minho was waiting by the door, and the look on his face when he saw her, relief and hunger and something softer, made her breath catch. Ready? He asked. No, but let's go anyway. The drive to the new safe house took 90 minutes, Jinwoo taking a route so circuitous Isabella lost track of where they were. They passed through neighborhoods she didn't recognize, industrial areas that looked abandoned, finally pulling up to a traditional hanok house hidden behind high walls. No one knows about this place except me, Jinwoo said. Not even our security team. You'll be safe here. The house was beautiful in an austere way. Traditional architecture with modern amenities. A small garden with a koi pond. Rooms that felt peaceful despite the circumstances. Minho moved through the space-checking exits, windows, sight lines, always calculating, always preparing for the worst. Isabella found herself in the kitchen, staring at nothing, trying to process everything that had happened in the last 24 hours. The threats, the attack, the kiss, the choice to stay. The certainty that she was falling in love with a man who'd probably destroy her. Here, Minho appeared with tea, pressed the warm cup into her hands. You should eat something too. I'm not hungry. You haven't eaten since yesterday morning. I need you to stop trying to take care of me like I'm fragile. She set the tea down. I'm scared, Minho, terrified, but I'm not going to break, so stop treating me like I will. His expression shifted, something dark and approving flickering in his eyes. Most people would have broken already. I'm not most people. No, he moved closer, and the air between them charged with familiar electricity. You're definitely not. They stood like that, inches apart, and Isabella was suddenly very aware they were alone. Jinwoo had disappeared to coordinate the security footage retrieval. The safe house was silent except for their breathing. I should check your bandages, she said, because the alternative was acknowledging the want building between them. Make sure the wound isn't infected. I'm fine. Minho. I'm fine, Isabella. The doctor cleaned it properly. I've had worse. That's supposed to comfort me, that you've been shot before. He smiled, small and sad. Probably not. She reached for him anyway, unbuttoning his shirt carefully. He let her, standing still as she peeled back the fabric. The bandages were clean, no signs of bleeding, but the bruising around the wound was spectacular, purple and black spreading across his ribs. Her fingers traced the edge of it, Featherlight. Does it hurt? Yes, his voice had gone rough. Good, maybe it'll remind you that you're not invincible. She looked up, found him watching her with an intensity that made her pulse spike. That you can be hurt, killed, that I can't. She stopped, swallowed the words. Can't lose you. Can't survive if something happens to you. Can't imagine my life without you in it. Too soon for those words. Too dangerous. But Minho heard them anyway, saw them in her expression. Isabella. Don't, she stepped back. Don't make promises you can't keep. Don't tell me everything will be fine when we both know it won't. Then what do you want me to say? Say you'll try. Say you'll fight to survive this. Say you won't just give up and accept that monsters don't get happy endings. He caught her hand, pulled her back. I'll try, I'll fight, but I won't lie to you about the odds. The odds don't matter, only the choice. She placed her palm over his heart, felt it thunder against her hand. You choose to survive. You choose to be more than what everyone expects. You choose me over the easy path of violence. Choosing you is choosing violence, he said quietly. Because I'll burn down anyone who tries to take you from me. I'll cross every line, break every rule, become the worst version of myself if it means keeping you safe. Then I'll have to keep you from becoming that. She rose on her toes, pressed her forehead to his. I'll be your conscience, your anchor, the thing that reminds you there's another way. What if I don't want another way? Then I'll make you want it. He kissed her then, and it was different from the desperate claim in her classroom. This was slower, deeper, weighted with everything they weren't saying. His hands found her waist, pulled her closer, and she went willingly. Let herself sink into the heat of him, the solid reality of his body against hers. This was dangerous, reckless, exactly the kind of thing she should avoid. She didn't care. Minho's phone buzzed, and he groaned against her mouth. I'm going to destroy that phone. Answer it, it might be important. He pulled back reluctantly, checked the screen. His expression shifted immediately. Jinwoo, what did you find? Isabella couldn't hear the response, but she watched Minho's face harden. You're sure? A pause. Send me everything. I want names, dates, every detail. Another pause. No, I'll handle it, just get me the evidence. He ended the call, met her eyes. They found something, Isabella said. Yes, the person who planted the photograph, the one who vandalized your classroom. His voice was cold, controlled. It was someone inside my organization, someone I trusted. The betrayal hit her even though it shouldn't have. Who? One of my security team. Been with me for 3 years. Clean record. No red flags. Minho's jaw clenched. He's been feeding information to Prosecutor Yoon for the last 6 months about my operations, my movements, my interest in you. Can we use that to prove Yoon orchestrated everything? Maybe Jinwoo is pulling phone records, financial transactions. If we can establish direct communication, direct payment. He stopped, shook his head. It's still circumstantial, but it's more than we had. It's a start. Isabella grabbed his hand. See, your way, evidence instead of violence, legal channels instead of murder. We'll see, but she heard the doubt in his voice, the certainty that this wouldn't be enough. Minho, you promised. I promised to try your way first, and I am. But if this falls apart, if Prosecutor Yoon finds a way to bury this evidence, then I'm ending this. Permanently. Before she could argue, his phone rang again. Different tone, emergency. He answered, listened, and every muscle in his body went rigid. When? A pause. How many? Another pause. I'm on my way. What happened? Isabella asked, already knowing it was bad. Prosecutor Yoon just raided 3 of my businesses simultaneously, arrested 15 of my people, seized computers, files, everything. Minho was already moving, grabbing his jacket. He's escalating, trying to dismantle my organization before I can strike back. Then we work faster. We get the evidence. There's no time. He turned to her, and the look in his eyes was final, resolved. This is war now, Isabella, real war, and I can't fight it your way, I'm sorry. Don't, she grabbed his arm. Don't go. If you retaliate, you're playing right into his hands. He wants you to respond with violence. It proves his case. I don't care anymore. His voice was flat. He's destroying everything I've built, arresting my people, coming after my family. I can't let that stand. So you'll what? Kill him? Kill a prosecutor? That's not war, Minho, that's suicide. Maybe, but it ends the threat. And makes you the monster he says you are. She was crying now, desperate. Please, give the evidence one more day. Let Jinwoo finish the investigation. Let me help. Just don't throw your life away because you're angry. I'm not angry. He cupped her face, thumbs wiping her tears. I'm protecting what's mine. There's a difference. By destroying yourself. If necessary. She saw it then. The resolve, the acceptance. He'd already decided, already chosen his path, and nothing she said would change his mind. Then I can't stay, she whispered. He froze. What? I told you my condition. If you go too far, if you become something I can't live with, I walk away. She pulled free of his grip. And this, planning to murder a prosecutor, that's too far, Minho. That's the line I can't cross. Isabella. I meant it, all of it. I'll stay if you try to be better, but I won't watch you commit suicide and pretend it's heroic. She was shaking, terrified and heartbroken and furious all at once. So you have a choice, me or revenge, the possibility of a future or the certainty of death. Choose. The silence stretched between them, brutal and suffocating. She saw him weighing it, saw the war playing out behind his eyes, everything he'd built versus everything he wanted, power versus love, survival versus surrender. I can't let him destroy everything, Minho said finally. Even if it means losing me. His jaw clenched, even then. The words hit like a physical blow. Isabella stumbled back, wrapping her arms around herself. Then we're done. Isabella. No, I gave you a chance, gave you conditions. You agreed. And now you're breaking your word because revenge is more important than, her voice cracked, than anything we could have had. This isn't about revenge. It's about survival. It's about pride, about ego, about proving you're the biggest monster in the room. She headed for the door. I'm calling Jinwoo, I'm leaving, and I'm not coming back. She made it 3 steps before Minho was there, blocking her path. You can't leave. It's not safe. I'll take my chances. Isabella, please. Move. No, his voice hardened. You chose to stay. You chose this. You don't get to run now just because I'm not the man you want me to be. You're right, I chose wrong. She met his eyes, let him see her heart breaking in real time. I chose to believe you could be better, that love could change you, that I mattered enough for you to try. I was wrong. Something in his expression shattered. Don't say that. Why not? It's true, you just proved it. She pushed past him, headed for the door. Goodbye, Minho, I hope your revenge is worth it. She was outside before he caught her, spinning her around. You're not leaving, not like this. You don't get to decide. He kissed her, hard and desperate and edged with something that felt like panic. His hands fisted in her hair, holding her captive, and she hated how her body responded. How she kissed him back despite everything. How she still wanted him even as he broke her heart. When he finally pulled back, they were both breathing hard. I can't lose you, he said roughly. I can't let him win, and I can't be what you need me to be. So I'm trapped, Isabella, caught between losing everything and losing you, and I don't know how to choose. She touched his face, memorized the lines of it. Then let me make it easy. I'm choosing for both of us. I'm leaving, and you're going to let me go. Isabella. Let me go, Minho, please, before we destroy each other completely. For a moment, she thought he'd refuse. Thought he'd lock her in the safe house, keep her prisoner, prove he was exactly the monster everyone said. Instead, he stepped back, released her. Let his hands fall to his sides. Jinwoo will take you wherever you want to go, he said, voice dead. You'll have protection, money, whatever you need. I don't want your money. You're getting it anyway. He turned away, couldn't look at her. Go, before I change my mind about letting you. This was it, her chance to escape, to save herself, to walk away from the violence and danger and certain destruction that came with loving Kang Minho. She should take it, should run and never look back. Instead, she heard herself say, 24 hours. He turned. What? Give me 24 hours. Let Jinwoo finish investigating. Let me see if we can find enough evidence to stop Prosecutor Yoon legally. She moved closer. If we can't, if there's no other option, then I'll accept your choice. I'll leave, and you can end this your way. And if we find evidence, then you use it. You fight him in court. You prove you're capable of choosing a different path. She grabbed his hand. 24 hours, Minho, that's all I'm asking. He stared at their joined hands, and she could see him calculating, weighing options, trying to find the trap. Why? He asked finally. Why give me more time when you've already decided I'm going to fail? Because I haven't decided that. You have. She squeezed his fingers. I still believe you can choose differently. I still believe there's more to you than violence and death. But you have to believe it too. You have to want it. What if I don't know how to want anything else? Then I'll teach you. She rose on her toes, kissed him softly. 24 hours starting now. He pulled her close, buried his face in her hair. You're going to break my heart. Only if you let me. She held him tight, breathed him in. Please, Minho, just try, for me, for Soo-jin, for the possibility that maybe, just maybe, monsters can have happy endings after all. He didn't answer, just held her like she was the only thing keeping him from falling apart. And maybe she was. The 24 hours felt like a countdown to the end of the world. Isabella spent the first 6 hours with Jinwoo and his tech team, going through surveillance footage frame by frame. The traitor in Minho's organization, a man named Choi Sung-ho, appeared in dozens of clips, entering Isabella's classroom, meeting with unidentified men in parking garages, using burner phones that pinged off towers near Prosecutor Yoon's office. It's circumstantial, Jinwoo said for the third time. Defense lawyers would tear it apart, say the meetings were coincidental. That proximity to a cell tower doesn't prove communication. But it establishes a pattern, Isabella insisted. She'd barely slept, surviving on coffee and stubborn hope. If we can show Choi received payments from accounts connected to Yoon. The money trail is clean. Yoon's too smart to leave direct evidence. Jinwoo rubbed his eyes, looking as exhausted as she felt. We're running out of time, Miss Kingsley. In 18 hours, boss is going to do this his way. And honestly, I can't blame him. Isabella looked at the screens, the endless evidence that proved everything and nothing. Choi Sung-ho was guilty. Prosecutor Yoon was behind the attacks, but proving it in a court of law, that was another matter entirely. What about Choi himself? She asked. Where is he now? Jinwoo's expression went carefully blank, being questioned. Questioned how? You don't want to know. She probably didn't, but she asked anyway. Is Minho with him? No, boss is keeping his distance, letting others handle the interrogation. Jinwoo paused. Because of you, because you asked him to try differently. The weight of that settled over her. Minho was holding back, restraining himself. Not because he wanted to, but because she'd asked him to. Because in some twisted way, her opinion mattered more than his instinct for violence. I need to see him, she said. Boss gave strict orders that you stay here, where it's safe. I don't care about his orders. She stood, grabbed her jacket. Where is he? Jinwoo studied her for a long moment, then sighed. He's going to kill me for this. Minho was in a warehouse in Incheon, the same one where he'd beaten a man for stealing from him 3 nights ago. Before everything fell apart. Before Isabella became his entire world and his greatest weakness. Now he stood in the empty space, staring at nothing, trying to calculate impossible odds. 18 hours left. 18 hours to find evidence that would satisfy Isabella's faith in legal justice. 18 hours before he stopped pretending he was anything other than what he'd always been. A monster. His phone buzzed. Jinwoo. Incoming, I tried to stop her. Minho turned just as Isabella walked through the warehouse door, flanked by 2 of his security team who looked apologetic. She was furious, exhausted, and absolutely magnificent in her defiance. You need to be at the safe house, he said. You need to stop making decisions for me. She crossed the space between them, and he saw the toll the last 6 hours had taken. Dark circles under her eyes, tension in every line of her body, but her gaze was steady, determined. Jinwoo says we're hitting dead ends, that the evidence won't hold up. It won't. Then we need Choi to confess, officially, on record, in a way that can't be dismissed as coerced. She grabbed his arms. Where is he? Minho didn't want to tell her, didn't want her to see that side of his world, but lying would only make it worse. Basement level, secured room. My people have been questioning him for the last 4 hours. Questioning or torturing. Does it matter? Yes, her voice was firm. It matters for what we can use in court. It matters for who you are. It matters to me. He wanted to argue, to tell her that in his world, results were all that mattered. That morality was a luxury he'd never been able to afford, but the look in her eyes stopped him. Questioning, he said finally. No physical violence, just psychological pressure, showing him evidence of his betrayal, making him understand what happens to traitors in my organization. And what does happen? Usually, They disappear. Isabella flinched but didn't back down. But not this time. This time you're going to offer him a deal. What kind of deal? Immunity, protection, a new identity, whatever he needs to feel safe enough to testify against Prosecutor Yoon. She moved closer, and he could smell her scent, vanilla and determination, and something that made his chest ache. You give him a way out, and he gives you what you need to destroy Yoon legally. And if he refuses? Then we've lost nothing. But if he accepts, if he's willing to confess everything in exchange for his life, then we have a real chance. Her hands found his face, forced him to look at her. Please, Min-ho, just try one more option before you give up. He wanted to tell her it was hopeless. That men like Choi didn't betray their employers twice. That Prosecutor Yoon had probably promised him protection, money, everything he needed to feel safe. But the hope in Isabella's eyes was impossible to resist. All right, he said. We try it your way. But Isabella, if this doesn't work, if Choi refuses or the evidence still isn't enough, then I'm done compromising. Understood. Understood. She rose on her toes, kissed him softly. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. He caught her hand. And you're staying up here, you don't need to see. I'm coming with you. Her voice left no room for argument. If we're offering him a deal, if we're asking him to trust us, then he needs to see I'm real. That this isn't just another manipulation. That there's someone in your world who actually believes in doing things differently. She was probably right. Choi would be more likely to trust a teacher than a crime lord. But the thought of Isabella seeing that room, seeing the fear in Choi's eyes, seeing what Min-ho's psychological pressure actually looked like, it made his stomach turn. You might not like what you see, he warned. I probably won't, but I need to see it anyway. She squeezed his hand. All of it, the good, the bad, and the monstrous. If I'm choosing you, I'm choosing all of you. Something in his chest cracked open. No one had ever said that to him before. No one had ever looked at his darkness and chosen to stay anyway. He led her down the stairs, through corridors that smelled of oil and rust, to a reinforced door guarded by two men. They straightened when they saw him, nodded respectfully. Status, Min-ho asked in Korean. He's breaking, boss, asking about deals, wanting to know if cooperation means mercy. Good, Min-ho switched to English for Isabella's benefit. We're going to offer him exactly that, but I need both of you to leave, wait upstairs. What happens next is between me. Miss Kingsley and Choi. The guards exchanged glances, but obeyed. They'd learned long ago not to question Min-ho's orders. Inside the room, Choi Sung-ho sat in a metal chair, hands zip-tied in front of him. He was maybe 30, with the lean build of someone who'd grown up hungry and fought his way to something better. Now he looked terrified, exhausted, and resigned to whatever came next. When he saw Isabella, confusion flickered across his face. Who's she? He asked in Korean. Someone who's going to save your life, Min-ho replied in the same language, then switched to English. Choi Sung-ho, this is Isabella Kingsley, the woman you've been helping Prosecutor Yoon target. Choi's eyes widened. I didn't know he'd send armed men into a school, I swear. I just gave him information, locations, schedules, I thought. He stopped, swallowed. I thought he was building a legal case. Did you? Isabella stepped forward, and to Min-ho's surprise, her voice was gentle, not accusatory, just curious. Or did you know exactly what Yoon would do with that information and tell yourself it wasn't your fault? Choi looked away. I needed the money, my sister, she's sick, cancer. The treatments are expensive and boss doesn't cover medical for family members. Yoon offered me enough to save her. What was I supposed to do? You were supposed to come to me, Min-ho said coldly. I would have paid for her treatments, set her up in the best hospital in Seoul, given you whatever you needed. I didn't know that, Choi's voice cracked. You're not someone people ask for help, boss. You're someone people fear. Someone who solves problems with violence. I thought if I came to you, you'd see me as weak, expendable. The words hit harder than they should have, because Choi was right. Min-ho had built his empire on fear, had cultivated a reputation as someone who didn't tolerate weakness or sentiment, had made himself into exactly the kind of monster that made asking for help seem like suicide. He's right, Isabella said quietly, and Min-ho turned to her. You built a world where people are too scared to trust you, where loyalty comes from fear, not respect, where asking for help feels like signing your own death warrant. That's how power works, Minho said. No, that's how tyranny works. She moved between them, looked at Choi. But right now, you have a choice. You can keep protecting Prosecutor Yoon, hope he follows through on whatever promises he made, and pray that Minho shows mercy. Or, Choi asked. Or you can tell us everything. Every conversation with Yoon, every order he gave you, every piece of evidence you can provide that proves he orchestrated the attacks. Isabella crouched down, met Choi's eyes. And in exchange, Minho will pay for your sister's treatments. We'll give you enough money to disappear and start over somewhere safe. We'll let you walk away from all of this. She's offering you a deal I would never make, Minho added. Because normally betrayal means death, but she believes in second chances, in redemption, in the possibility that people can choose differently. He paused. So I'm letting her make the offer, once. If you refuse, if you try to play both sides, if you lie or hold back information, then we're done. And I handle this my way. Choi was shaking now, and Minho wondered if it was fear or relief or both. You'd really let me go, after everything I did. I'd really let you go, Isabella confirmed. But only if you help us stop Yoon. Only if you give us enough evidence to destroy him legally. Can you do that? I have recordings, Choi said suddenly. On my phone, conversations with Yoon, him ordering me to plant evidence to watch you. He stopped, looked at Isabella. To make you vulnerable, to find ways to isolate you from protection. He was obsessed with you, said you were the key to destroying Boss because Boss had never cared about anyone before. Minho's hands clenched into fists. Hearing it confirmed that Yoon had deliberately targeted Isabella, had seen her as a weakness to exploit, made rage burn through him like acid. But Isabella just nodded calmly. Where's the phone now? Hidden in my apartment, behind a loose tile in the bathroom. Choi gave them the address, the specific location. But even with the recordings, Yoon will claim they're fake, edited. He's a prosecutor. He knows how to discredit evidence. Let us worry about that, Minho said. Right now, you're going to write down everything, every meeting, every conversation, every order Yoon gave you, dates, times, locations, everything you can remember. And then we get you out of the country, new identity, new life. Your sister gets the best treatment available. Minho pulled out his phone, made a call. Within seconds, Jinwoo was coordinating the logistics. But Choi, if you're lying, if those recordings don't exist or don't say what you claim. I'm not lying, Choi interrupted. I swear on my sister's life. Those recordings are real. They're enough to prove Yoon broke the law, enough to destroy him. Isabella stood, looked at Minho. Then we have what we need. Maybe. Minho still didn't trust it. Didn't trust that something this critical would actually work. We need to verify the recordings first. Make sure they're authentic and damning enough to use. I'll go get them, Isabella said. Give me the address. Absolutely not. Minho caught her arm. You're not going anywhere near Choi's apartment. If Yoon has people watching it, if this is a trap. Then send a team. But we need those recordings, Minho. They're our smoking gun. He wanted to argue, wanted to lock her in the safe house and handle this himself. But the clock was ticking. 12 hours left. 12 hours to retrieve the evidence, verify it, and figure out how to use it without getting arrested in the process. Jinwoo, he called. I need a team at Choi's apartment. Full sweep. Look for surveillance, booby traps, anything suspicious. If it's clear, retrieve the phone. If it's not, we abort, Jinwoo said. I know the protocol, boss. While they waited, Isabella convinced Minho to let her talk to Choi alone. He hated the idea, hated leaving her in a room with a man who'd betrayed him. But she insisted, and some part of him, the part that was trying to be better, trying to deserve her, agreed. He watched through the one-way glass as Isabella sat across from Choi, speaking quietly. He couldn't hear the words, but he saw Choi's expression shift, saw the fear fade into something that looked like hope, saw him nod, wipe his eyes, respond with obvious gratitude. She was performing a miracle, taking a traitor and turning him into an ally, using compassion where Minho would have used threats, offering redemption where Minho would have offered death. And it was working. She's good for you, Jinwoo said, appearing at his elbow. Makes you think before you act. Consider consequences. Try solutions that don't involve body counts. She makes me weak, Minho replied. No, she makes you human. Jinwoo glanced at him. There's a difference. Before Minho could respond, his phone rang. The team at Choi's apartment. Boss, we found the phone. The recordings are real. We're sending you clips now. Minho's tablet lit up with files. He opened the first one, heard Prosecutor Yoon's voice crystal clear. I need eyes on the teacher. Isabella Kingsley. Find out everything. Her schedule. Her weaknesses, where she goes when she's alone. I want to know how to make her matter to Kang, how to use her to break him. The next recording was worse. Yoon explicitly ordering Choi to plant the photograph, to vandalize Isabella's classroom, to create fear and suspicion. The final recording was damning. If it comes to it, if Kang won't break any other way, we take her. Bring her in, use her as leverage. He'll give up everything to get her back. I've seen how he looks at her. She's his weakness, and we exploit weaknesses. Minho listened to all of it, rage building with each word. This wasn't just about bringing down a criminal. This was personal, obsessive. Yoon had targeted Isabella specifically because he'd noticed Minho's interest in her. Which meant this was Minho's fault. His obsession with Isabella had painted a target on her back. His inability to hide his feelings had made her vulnerable. When Isabella emerged from the interrogation room, she took one look at his face and knew. You found the recordings. Yes. And they're enough. They're enough to prove Yoon broke the law, ordered harassment, planned kidnapping. Minho handed her the tablet. Listen for yourself. She did, her expression growing darker with each clip. When the final recording ended, Yoon coldly planning to use her as leverage, she looked up with fury in her eyes. He's a monster, she said. So am I. No. She grabbed his face, forced him to look at her. You're a criminal, you've done terrible things, but you've never targeted innocents deliberately, never used someone's love against them as a weapon. Never. She stopped, swallowed. Yoon is worse than you, and that's saying something. Then we agree. Minho took the tablet back. He needs to be stopped. Legally, Isabella insisted. Using these recordings, turning them over to someone who can. Who? The police. Yoon has half the force in his pocket. Minho shook his head. The media, they'll question the authenticity, claim we manufactured evidence. Then we give them to Detective Kim, Isabella said. She hates you, but she hates corruption more. She'll verify the recordings. She'll make sure they're used properly. It was risky. Detective Kim could easily decide the recordings were fake, or use them as an excuse to arrest Minho along with Yoon. But it was also the only option that didn't involve murder. All right, Minho said. We try it your way. We contact Detective Kim, give her everything, and pray she's as incorruptible as her record suggests. Isabella's smile was worth every risk. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. He pulled her close, breathed in her scent. We still have to survive the next few hours, and Yoon isn't going to go down without a fight. Detective Kim arrived at a neutral location, a coffee shop in Gangnam that Minho's people had swept for surveillance. She came alone, which was either brave or stupid, and sat across from them with the wariness of someone who'd learned to trust no one. This better be good, she said. I just left a crime scene to meet with a wanted fugitive. If this is a waste of my time. It's not, Isabella interrupted. She'd insisted on being present, on being the one to explain. We have evidence, recordings of Prosecutor Yoon ordering illegal surveillance, harassment, planning kidnapping, everything you need to arrest him. Detective Kim's expression didn't change. And why would you bring this to me instead of using it yourselves? Because we're trying to do this the right way, Isabella said. Through legal channels, with proper evidence, we need someone we can trust to verify the recordings and take action. Someone you can trust, Detective Kim looked at Minho. You don't trust anyone, Mr. Kang, and I certainly don't trust you, so what's the real reason you're here? Minho could have lied, could have played the role of concerned citizen. Instead, he told the truth. Because she asked me to, because I'm trying to prove I'm capable of choosing a different path, and because if you don't stop Yoon, I will, and my way will involve significantly more bloodshed. Detective Kim studied him for a long moment, then held out her hand. "Let me hear the recordings." They played them all, watched her face remain impassive as Yoon's voice laid out his plans, ordered crimes, explicitly targeted Isabella to destroy Minho. When the final recording ended, Detective Kim sat back. "These are authentic. I can verify the voice patterns, cross-reference dates with Yoon's known movements. This is enough to arrest him." Relief flooded through Isabella. "Then you'll do it." "I'll do it." Detective Kim looked at Minho. "But there's a condition. You turn yourself in, face charges for your own crimes. You don't get to walk away clean just because Yoon is worse." "No," Isabella said immediately. "That wasn't the deal." "It's fine." Minho caught her hand. "She's right. I've broken laws, hurt people. I don't get redemption just because I did one thing right." "Minho." He kissed her, silencing her protests. "It's fine, Isabella. I knew this was how it would end. The only question was whether I'd go in a body bag or in handcuffs." He pulled back, met her eyes. "At least this way, I get to see you one more time. Get to know you're safe. That Yoon can't hurt you." "This isn't fair," Isabella whispered. "Nothing about this has ever been fair." He turned to Detective Kim. "I have conditions of my own. Isabella goes free, completely free, no charges, no implications. You make it clear she was a victim, not an accomplice." "Agreed." "And my daughter, Sujin, she's protected. She has guardians lined up, resources, everything she needs. You make sure she's never connected to my crimes." "Also agreed." Detective Kim pulled out handcuffs. "Anything else?" "Yes." Minho looked at Isabella one last time, memorized her face. "Tell her," he stopped, jaw clenching. "Tell her I'm sorry for all of it, for dragging her into my world, for making her care about a monster, for—" "Tell her yourself," Detective Kim interrupted. "You'll have visitation rights, pending trial, if she wants to see you." "She won't," Minho said. "She's smarter than that." "Yes, I will," Isabella said fiercely. "I'll visit every day they let me. I'll be there for your trial. I'll wait however long it takes. Because I'm not giving up on you, Minho. Not when you just proved you're capable of choosing differently." "Isabella." "You chose me," she said simply. "Over revenge, over violence, over everything you've ever been. You chose to do this the right way because I asked you to. That's not nothing, that's everything." He wanted to argue, to tell her she was being naive. That one good choice didn't erase 15 years of crimes, that he didn't deserve her faith or her love or her loyalty. But the look in her eyes stopped him. She believed in him, genuinely believed he could be more than a monster, and maybe, just maybe, that belief was worth fighting for. "Hands behind your back," Detective Kim said. Minho obeyed, felt the cold metal close around his wrists, felt his freedom evaporate, felt everything he'd built slip away. And somehow, looking at Isabella's tear-streaked face, he didn't care. "One more thing," he said to Detective Kim. "Jinwoo, Park Jinwoo, he's my second in command. He'll cooperate fully, answer any questions, help you dismantle my organization. In exchange, he gets immunity for everything." "That's a big ask." "Without him, you'll spend years chasing shadows. With him, you get everything. Names, operations, financial records, he knows it all." Minho paused. "And he'll do it because I'm ordering him to, because it's time." Detective Kim considered, then nodded. "I'll make it happen." As they led Minho away, Isabella followed, refusing to let him disappear without a fight. At the car, she grabbed his arm. "I love you," she said desperately. "I know it's crazy and too soon and completely irrational, but I love you, and I'm not walking away." Minho's chest tightened painfully. "You should." "Well, I'm not." She kissed him one last time, tasting salt from her tears. "So get used to it, because when you get out, and you will get out, I'm going to be there, waiting, ready to see what kind of life we can build when you're not running from the law." "Isabella." "No arguments, no protests, just," she touched his face. "Just promise me you'll try, in prison, during the trial. After, promise me you'll keep choosing to be better." He wanted to promise, wanted to give her the certainty she deserved, but he'd learned long ago not to make promises he couldn't keep. "I'll try," he said finally. "For you, for Sujin, for the possibility that maybe I'm not completely beyond redemption." That's all I'm asking. She stepped back, let Detective Kim put him in the car. Watched as they drove away, taking with them the man she'd somehow fallen in love with in the span of a week. It was insane, impossible, exactly the kind of love story that shouldn't work. But she'd meant what she said. She wasn't giving up, wasn't walking away, wasn't letting him disappear into the system without a fight. Because Kang Min-ho had chosen her, over revenge, over violence, over everything he'd ever been. And she was going to prove that choice mattered. That love could change even a monster. That happy endings were possible, even for people who'd done terrible things. It would take time, patience, faith that he could become more than what he'd been. But Isabella had never been good at giving up, and she wasn't about to start now. 6 months later, the courtroom was packed with media, spectators, and people who'd come to see the infamous Kang Min-ho finally face justice. Isabella sat in the front row, exactly where she'd sat every single day of the trial, wearing her most professional dress and the most defiant expression she could manage. Min-ho's lawyers had argued for leniency, cooperation with authorities, the recordings that had brought down prosecutor Yoon, who was now serving his own sentence for corruption, illegal surveillance, and conspiracy to commit kidnapping. Min-ho's testimony had been crucial in that conviction. The prosecution had argued for the maximum sentence, laid out 15 years of crimes in excruciating detail, shown evidence of violence, illegal operations, everything that made Min-ho exactly what he'd always claimed to be, a monster. Now, the judge was ready to deliver the verdict. Kang Min-ho, the judge said, you've been found guilty of racketeering, money laundering, and conspiracy to commit assault. However, this court also recognizes your cooperation with authorities in bringing down a corrupt prosecutor, your willingness to dismantle your own organization, and the testimony of numerous character witnesses, including your daughter's teacher, Miss Isabella Kingsley, who attest to your capacity for change. Isabella held her breath. Taking all factors into consideration, this court sentences you to 5 years in prison, with the possibility of parole after 3 years for continued good behavior and cooperation. 5 years, it could have been 20, could have been life. 5 years was a gift. Min-ho showed no reaction, but Isabella saw the tension leave his shoulders, saw him glance back at her, and the look in his eyes, gratitude, love, hope, made her want to cry. After the sentencing, they allowed her 5 minutes with him before he was transferred. 5 minutes to say everything that mattered. 3 years, she said, grabbing his hands through the barrier. 3 years until parole. We can do that. Isabella, you can't wait. I'm not waiting. I'm living, teaching, raising your daughter. Yes, Sujin is with me now. Jinwoo arranged it. She's safe and happy, and she knows you're trying to be better. Isabella squeezed his hands. I'm living my life, and in 3 years you'll be part of it, really part of it. Not running, not hiding, just us. You deserve someone better. I deserve someone who chooses to change, who proves that redemption is possible, who loves me enough to try. She leaned closer. That's you, Min-ho. You're not a monster anymore. You're just a man who made terrible choices and is finally making better ones. I love you, he said roughly. More than I thought I could love anyone, more than I knew I was capable of. I know, she smiled through her tears. And in 3 years we get to find out what that looks like, what we can build together when you're free. Time's up, the guard said. Isabella stood but didn't let go of his hands. 3 years, and then the rest of our lives, deal. Min-ho smiled, really smiled, genuine and warm and utterly transformed from the cold man she'd met in that parent-teacher conference. Deal. She watched them take him away, watched him disappear into the system, and felt no despair, only determination. Because monsters didn't get happy endings. But men who chose to change, men who fought to be better, men who loved deeply enough to sacrifice everything. They got second chances. And Isabella intended to make sure Min-ho's second chance was worth every moment of the wait. 3 years later, the prison gates opened at dawn, and Min-ho stepped out into freedom for the first time in 3 years. He'd served his time, cooperated fully, helped authorities dismantle what remained of his criminal empire, attended therapy, taken classes, done everything possible to prove he deserved this chance. And waiting for him, exactly where she'd promised she'd be, was Isabella. She looked different, older, more confident. Her hair was longer, her smile brighter, and beside her stood Sujin, 10 years old now, clutching Isabella's hand and bouncing with excitement. "Appa!" Sujin ran to him, and Minho caught her, lifted her up, buried his face in her hair and let himself feel everything he'd been holding back for 3 years. "I missed you," he whispered in Korean. "I missed you too, but teacher Isabella said you were getting better, that you were trying to be the kind of Appa I deserve." "I'm trying." He set her down, looked at Isabella over his daughter's head. "I'm still trying." "I know." Isabella walked to him slowly, and when she reached him, she rose on her toes and kissed him, soft and sweet and full of promise. "Welcome home." "Home," he repeated, testing the word. He'd never really had one, never believed he deserved one. "Yes, home with us." She took his hand, laced their fingers together. "We have a house in Itaewon, small, normal, nothing like your penthouse, but it's ours, yours if you want it." "I want it," he said immediately. "I want all of it, you, Sujin, a normal life, everything I never thought I could have." "Then let's go." She tugged him toward the car where Jinwoo waited, grinning. "Let's start the rest of our lives." As they drove away from the prison, Sujin chattering excitedly in the backseat, Isabella's hand warm in his, Minho felt something he'd never experienced before. Peace. He'd been a monster, had done monstrous things, had hurt people and broken laws and lived a life that should have ended in violence and blood. But he'd chosen differently, had chosen Isabella, had chosen to be better, had chosen to fight for the possibility that even people like him could change. And somehow, impossibly, miraculously, he'd gotten his happy ending. Not because he deserved it, but because Isabella had believed he could be more than what he was, because she'd given him a reason to try, because love, real, stubborn, transformative love, had changed everything. "What are you thinking?" Isabella asked softly. Minho looked at her, at Sujin, at the life stretching out before them, full of possibility, full of hope, full of everything he'd never dared to want. "I'm thinking," he said, "that monsters don't get happy endings, but I'm not a monster anymore, and I'm going to spend the rest of my life proving it." Isabella smiled. "Good, because I'm going to spend the rest of my life reminding you." And as souls spread out before them, bright and bustling and full of promise, Kang Minho finally believed it. He'd been a monster, but he'd become something more. A man, a father's a partner. Someone worthy of the love she'd given him. Someone capable of a happy ending after all. Thank you for joining us on this journey, besties. If you loved Isabella and Minho's story, please like, share, and subscribe for more K-Fairy Tales stories. Remember, even monsters can change when love is strong enough to believe in them.